CSI 3520 group project, and this is the final presentation. Our project is going to be the Oakland Event Hub. I myself will be starting out the presentation. I'm Mohab, and then I have my other teammates that will be presenting their own respective parts later in the presentation, which will be Jeffrey, Michael, Tara, and Christian. This is going to be our agenda for today. We're going to talk about, it's similarly structured to our final report. So we're going to start off with the introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about the team structure, the scope management plan, the strength, weakness, opportunity, threats analysis. We're going to talk about the breakdown structure, backend pseudocode, which will have three parts to it, which will be SQL, the actual backend structure, and then the application features as well. And then we're going to talk about the UI, which will include mockups and the front end coding development. And then we're going to end it off with some conclusions and final thoughts. So to start off, the Oakland Event Hub is going to be a web-based platform that Oakland University students can take advantage of as a portal for all types of events. We wanted to make this something that's for every university, but due to the time constraint that we have during the summer, we're only going to do it for Oakland University. But if this was more of a long-term project, we want this to be a software or an application that any university can just come to us and get and then implement in their system. That was our end goal for it. But for now, we're going to focus on what it means to Oakland University, and also it was designed to increase digitalization and student engagement in Oakland University. As you know, everything nowadays is through social media and through the internet. So we wanted to create an easy way for students to engage in these events with their phone, through their laptop, on the website and whatnot. And then it's also a modern approach to event organization in universities in general. Not a lot of universities have up-to-date management systems for their events, and it's still a lot of universities still do it the old school way, which is like word of mouth and whatnot. Our rationale was going to be for students that manage extensive schedules, including academics, part-time, full-time jobs, internships, their academic and personal life. Those students don't have enough time in their day to go to bulletin boards and read newspapers and whatnot to find the latest events or for them to engage it. So that's why a lot of students don't really engage in events in general, because they're too busy and there's nothing really, there's no solution for a quick event management application. So that's what we're trying to fix. And they also often miss out on events and extracurricular activities that could be beneficial to them and that could help them in their overall academic life as well. And then following up to that, the last point, some activities can help students connect with other students from their field and introduce them as future classmates. So you could, if you're computer science and you meet another computer science student there at an event, y'all both connect. That student could be someone that's you're going to see in your future classrooms, your future academic life. Could be someone that becomes someone you study with, go to the library with. So it's a great tool overall to connect with and network with other students. This is just a quick statistic. According to the research conducted by College Board, 60% of students say they are involved in at least one extracurricular activity. And that number is kind of low, and we don't know how frequent those students go. It could be that they went to one event and they didn't like it and that was it, or maybe it was too much work for them, to begin with. But that number is kind of low. It's a little bit over half, and we want to increase that number to about 80-90% hopefully in the future, as an event management systems grow for other universities. And that number also represents how I think important it is or beneficial to students that 60% of them would actually attend an event outside of their academic life. So that just like tells us that how students value this and important to them. These are some benefits on why it would be good for our project to be developed. First one is going to be increased engagement. Our project is going to make it easier for students to discover and participate in events, fostering a greater sense of community engagement with the campus and peers. So, like I said, to the points before, it's a great tool to connect with people, connect with students, connect with Oakland staff, and it's overall an easy way to engage in events. Centralized information. All events are in one place, making it easy for students to find and register for events without having to navigate through multiple platforms or channels. So as we stated before, events are still done through multiple ways, through newspapers and newsletters and bulletin boards. But this way, we when a student thinks of an event, they can go to one place and that's it. Personalized experience. We want to help students. We want to track students based on what their past activities are. And then obviously the student himself or herself can customize it to the individual's preferences, showing them events that align with their interest. And also improve event management overall. This is more specifically for event organizers and students that organize events. They can use the platform to easily manage event details, update changes, and keep track of registrations. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Accessible and user-friendly. We designed the UI this way, and our whole objective was for the applications to be as user-friendly as possible, making it accessible to everyone, including those with minimal technical skills. And then it's going to be also time saving. It kind of goes back to the earlier points. And then boost campus life. Again, students are going to network with each other more, and it's going to be a great overall experience for everybody in campus. This is our team structure. So we have one group leader, which is myself, two backend developers, Jeffrey and Christian, and then two front end and UI developers, which are Tara and Michael. And these are descriptions of what each individual job is. Towards the end of the project, due to the time constraints and everything of that nature, we kind of had to switch some roles here and there. So for the group leader, I assisted in creating most of the documentation of the report. So stuff like the business case, the SWOT analysis, introductions, all of that nature. I facilitated the tasks, so gave everybody tasks every week on, what's missing, what needs to be worked on, and what could be better. And then also assisted in areas where help was needed. This was very important in the last part because I assisted a good amount in the back-end development area of this project towards the end of towards this final stretch of the project. And then also I assisted in creating a lot of diagrams as well when the front end developers was busy. Backend developers created the backend pseudocode for the project, communicated together on creating cohesive sections of code. So as I stated earlier in the agenda, for our code we have 3 areas, which are our backend areas, which is going to be the backend structure, which is like the base of our pseudocode. Then we have the SQL database, which is how we're going to store the events, and then we have the application feature pseudocode, which is the pseudocode for the features that are going to be on the website or the applications, like so the backend of it. So stuff like logging in and whatnot. So I assisted in that part specifically. And then front end developers assisted in creating UI mockups for the website and mobile applications, assisted in diagrams and creating front end pseudocode. So they created the UI for the website and the mobile application, and they also created the front end code in HTML and CSS for the features and overall the whole application. This is our scope management plan. Firstly, our project objective was to create a user-friendly mobile application website, the Oakland Event Hub, that enables students to easily discover and register for campus-related events. Our target audience is designed to cater to the students at Oakland University with an aim to enhance their connection to the university's community and diverse culture. Um, Skills required that we needed to have knowledge in database management and coding. Obviously, that was the biggest part of our challenge. Was a lot of some team members did not have good knowledge in database management and coding, so that was like a learning curve that we had to overcome during our time. Um, and then core task, key activities involve designing a UI front end for the application, building a comprehensive event database, implementing personalized account features, and carrying out quality assurance testing. And then that goes to the last point, quality assurance, commitment to thorough testing to ensure the application functions as expected and meets, if not exceeds, user expectations. And that also just making sure we have all the correct deliverables that we needed, and for the code and everything in the project to be cohesive and make sense in general. And then the timeline, I spoke about this earlier, that we wanted to have this application for multiple universities and something that like anybody can implement, but we had a challenging time frame, which was just a little bit over a month. So we couldn't do that, but that time frame was indeed difficult, and we had a lot of focus on trying to make sure we meet our weekly deliverables and reports. The scope management was continuous monitoring of the project scope to ensure that the team's efforts are appropriately directed and all team members are engaged. So that was kind of my job, making sure everybody had the stuff to do, and in areas that we can improve on. And then continuous improvement, week by week, we continue to fill out what's missing, to expand on a lot of the subjects that we had. And yeah, the SWOT analysis, which is strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Beginning with our strength, which was collaborative effort. The Oakland Event Hub project is a result of collective teamwork with various skills and ideas contributing to its development. We learned a lot about each other's skills throughout this process, and we connected a lot, with the team members, and that was a great learning journey for everybody. Uniqueness. There's currently no application that any university can just plug it into their system, and as like a portal. So this was kind of a newer idea that got our interest in the beginning when we were brainstorming. So user-centric design. This project is designed to keep the end users, the students, in mind, which can ensure high usability and satisfaction. So that goes to the front end team, trying to make sure that our UI is simple, innovative, and easy to navigate for the not tech savvy people. Weaknesses, dependent on constant updates. For the applications to remain relevant, the event information needs to be updated regularly. If that doesn't happen, the application usefulness might dwindle. So obviously, when this application does roll out, we're gonna need to monitor for any issues and bugs, and always keep track of the user engagement and their comments on it. Limited resources include obviously we don't have a lot of team members for if this was an actual if we had to do an actual implementation of everything. So and time, as we mentioned earlier, was probably our biggest limited resource. Technical difficulties, as I stated earlier, we had a lot of difficulties with understanding database management and building up the code. So we learned a lot through this, but technical difficulties was a big challenge for us. And then opportunities, marketing and branding. Successful implementation of a project can boost the university's brand image. So if this was something that was successful for Oakland University, and it starts going to blogs and newspapers and online, and throughout the internet, other universities will gauge interested in this, and this is something Oakland University can market itself with. Feedback incorporation. There's an opportunity to incorporate user feedback constantly improve the platform. So we could be sending out surveys, and we could be collecting comments and app ratings to make sure that the app is smooth and working as intended, and what areas we can improve on. And then the threats, user acceptance. This is probably like the biggest threat. Is we need enough students to engage in this, because otherwise it would not be successful, and it's not gonna be marketable, and it's not like our biggest challenge is going to be that. And then technical challenges. As the platform grows and more data is stored, there might be technical challenges to maintain the speed and performance of the app. So yeah, we need to have great database management, to as over time more and more events are going to be stored in our system, and as students have their personalized journeys and all that throughout the app, it's going to be difficult. And then dependency on third parties. If the platform uses third party services like map services for event locations, there could be potential issues or changes with these events that could impact the app's functionality. And then this is the work breakdown structure. Um, we began with understanding the problem. This is where we brainstormed, what we wanted to do for our project for this course. So that took a good amount of time. And we also discussed our some of our peers and what they think, and they liked the idea, so that's why we went with that as well. Second, we started creating deliverables and reports. That where we started creating our weekly reports, and then started developing our midterm report, and then now obviously to our final report. So that took pretty much most of the time, which was creating a lot of the documentation and analysis for everything in the project. Identifying and defining use cases. My teammates did that part. So this was discussing the key functionalities and platforms, and developing the workflows and diagrams and the descriptions for all the use cases that will be in the project. Designing the solution, which was the front end developer's job, UI mockups for the website and mobile platform, and then second part was adding in features that were missing, and then creating the back end and front end code for that. Designing and building database and pseudocode. This was the second most time consuming area, because we had to collaborate as a team to make all the three areas of the pseudocode collaborative and cohesive, so everything that makes sense as well. And then designing overall architecture, where we created most of the code, plan how each component will be coded, and then testing and finalizing code and deliverables, which was kind of towards the end, and that took 5 hours.
For our database, we are trying to store events by inserting the date, time, location, description, in the name of the event. It would store the event and be able to take every single event out and show it at one time. To do that, we need to use SQL as well, because to access all of the events from the Oakland webpage. Then we are able to store it on our site to then use it and show it to our users. By taking the events from the Oakland webpage, we're then able to show it to our users and allow them to sign up for the events. We also have it so you can create a new event by inserting the exact same specifications that a normal event needs to be an event, and then be able to store it into the database and use it again. The main structure of the pseudocode is to store, return, and take data about events. It takes all the information about the events and stores it to functions. To be an event, it needs certain variables to be an event. And the code defines the structure of three tables: event, user, and attendee. The event table includes columns such as event ID, which is the primary key, name, date, time, location, and description. The user table consists of columns like user ID, the primary key, which is the primary key, name, email, and password. Lastly, the attendee table is used to store the relationship between events and users and contains columns for event ID that references the event table and user ID, which references the user table. To interact with these tables, several functions are provided. The create event function is responsible for creating a new event. It takes parameters for the name, date, time, location, and description of the event. Inside the function, a new instance of the event table is created, and the provided values are assigned to respective columns. Finally, the event is stored in the database. The register user for event function is used to register a user for the event. It takes parameters for the event ID and user ID. Within the function, a new instance of the attendee table is created. The event ID and user ID are assigned to their respective columns. The attendee information is then saved in the database. For retrieving data, 3 functions are defined. The getAll event functions retrieves all events from the event table and returns a list of events. The getRegistered event functions takes a user ID as a parameter and retrieves all events that a user has registered for from the attendee table. It filters the entries based on the provided user ID and returns the list of registered events. The getEvent detail functions takes an event ID as a parameter and retrieves the details of a specific event table. It filters the table based on the provided event ID and returns the event details. Overall, this code provides a basic structure and function for managing events, users, and their relationship using tables in a database, including creating events, registering users for events, and retrieving event data. The actual implementation of querying and saving data would depend on the SQL side of the project.
So now, of course, like I said, I'm talking about implementing SQL code. So to implement SQL code for the Oakland.edu Event Hub, I consider the specific requirements and design of the Event Hub database schema. Now, talking about that, below I have some examples of SQL code that demonstrates the creation of the simple Event Hub table. So basically what this is showing right here in this example is the events table is created with columns such as event ID, event name, event date, event location, and event description. The event ID column is defined as the primary key, of course, which is right here. So that's the event ID. Now going into the next slide is some examples of embedded code. So once the table was created, I performed various SQL operations such as inserting new events, retrieving events based on specific criteria, updating event details, and deleting events. These are all things embedded into the code that any person using the event UI will be able to do and use. These are just basic things that people need to do to use a website or program whatsoever. Now, here are some examples of SQL queries for the event table. Just like inserting a new event. So right here is that small bit of code of it. It just basically insert into events. This is when you want to add the event ID, the event name, date, location, and the description of the event that you want to create. We also have the values here. So like this is summer concert, this is the date, with the location of it, and then this is the description: enjoying live music in the park. Now, retrieving all events. So when you want to see some events and where they're at, so select from events, and then retrieving events based on specific conditions. Example, event location. So if you want to see where the location is, I embedded this code, which is select from events where event location, which goes to, of course, Oakland Park, which is what we stated right here. Now, updating an event's detail. So, of course, what if anything changes in that event? You need to update it to inform everybody. So that's when we just put updating events and then set event description. So this is the description of the event, which is all right here: enjoying the live music at the park. I changed it up, looks like just a little bit. An amazing summer concert experience in the park. So basically, that update right there changed the description from just enjoying the live music in the park to an amazing summer concert experience in the park, which is a lot better of a description. So that's the update right there. Of course, the where stayed the same, but deleting an event, so if the event eventually gets canceled or whatever happens, can happen. So basically, the embedded code is just delete from events where event ID, and then that's where we'd be able to delete the event if needed. These SQL queries provide a basic foundation for integrating with the events table and the Oakland.edu Event Hub database, of course. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Tara. As a front-end developer, I have created an Oakland Event Hub website for a student to use this website. So I'm going to talk about the list of features that I have added based on the user interface. So here what I have added for the website. So for the home page, where a user can click this navigation bar menu, which are homepage, my event, browse event, my calendar, notification, and my profile. So this page shows where a user can look up event. For example, I have added 2 events, just as a baseball event, the garden tea event. So when a user is interested in those events, user can click those 3 buttons. For more information, so wishes are the zone, map, and rate and review. So for the join button, when a user joins the event, it will pop up like an alert message saying that a user has joined successfully and that a user should remind this event into the calendar. And for the rate and review, this page is where a user can look up at the rating of certain events. So this is the rating and this is the review of what a user have experienced, what they thought about this event, and a user can go back to the previous page, which is the home page. So it also goes similar to the other event. As you see, there is a different rating, different review. So for the notifications, this page where a user joined a certain event can look up the notification to see to see that a user joined the event as a reminder and can close this notification when a user finishes reading. So for the calendar, a user can remember the event where a user joined by clicking the date of the event. And it will pop up to write the name and date of the event. Let's say garden tea at 11 a.m. and save. So it was saved to the calendar to reminder. And once a user finishes with this event, a user can delete this event. Go to the My Profile. So this is the profile setting. So where a user can control the profile settings such as switch on and off, the notification on and off. So for the notification, use map and my event and eject. So my event, it goes to where a user joined the event and they can go back to it. And for the exit, it will user can log out from this website and go back to login or signed up. And for the browse event, user can search what event they want and filters. They can apply a clear or the filter they have picked out. So I'm going to talk about the front end code. As you know, as a front end developer, I have to create a website by using a code language such as HTML, CSI, JavaScript, and so on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the front end code. So I'm going to show you the code for the home page. So here for the home page, as you see for the logo, I have started with the images. So here a link for the images. So I have created a logo for Oakland Event Hub. And there were the width and the height. And so this is what it will be for the logo. And now for the time part. So here I use the time PHP to select the default time zone check, which is American Toronto. And I have added the date and the time to return to into exact date, what date is today, our time, what time is right now. So it will link it together to home HTML. So this is what it linked it together to make it look like that. Welcome, it's Sunday, June 25th. Our time is 9:26 p.m. So here for the link. The link, it will link to the style CSS. So here, as you see, each card linked together for style, different background, different font family, different font size, color, text aligning, margin, padding, and so on. So as you see, I use a different color brown. We have light brown, medium brown, and dark brown. So for here, the top navigation, as you see for the top navigation, each menu has homepage and my event, browse event, my calendar, notification, my profile. So here is what it look like. So we're gonna link it together, each menu, link it together to make it a navigation bar. And here for the body part where I have added the text, put it in the center, welcome to Auckland event, and then it goes to another text which is the event, and I have added images. We have this image the showing baseball and this image showing the Garden Key event. So it just separate two events as you see. And I also have added another class text to, as you see, the event Auckland University baseball and the date, the time, and the location. And it's similar to this. So for the button, as you see, we have added 3 buttons. So this is the button My Function. So My Function, it has to add it to script. This is script of My Function. You have added a 2 alert. Once done with this alert, it will come up with another alert. And other button Map using Google Map, and another button Rate and Review. Just so this is what it looked like.
Hello, my name is Michael, and I will be talking about the portion of the front end that I did for this project. So I created web pages by using a combination of HTML, CSS, and a very small amount of JavaScript used for button functionality. The screenshots you see here are the code for the main page. I will now bring up the web pages and walk you through their purpose and functionality. So this will be the main page that a user will see when accessing our system. This was designed using a simple container to make it easy for the user to understand what to do. And so if a user has already created an account, they have the choice to log in the normal way, or they can log in with Google or Facebook. Now there wasn't enough time to implement Google and Facebook authentication, but once complete, these buttons would allow a user to log into our system using an existing Google or Facebook account. As for logging in the normal way, a user would click here, which opens up another page, and then they type in their username and their password. And of course, once our system is completed, logging in successfully would take the user to the website's homepage. Now, if a user does not yet have an account, they can click here to go to our sign up page. From here, the user can enter in their required information such as first name, last name, whatever their password is. They can then choose their role, whether it's student, event organizer, or guest. Then they would add their email address and their phone number. And then once complete, they can then click OK to create their account, which would take them to the home page. And if for whatever reason they wanted to clear the information they entered, they could do that by clicking the clear button. And the last page I did was a filters page. So when searching for an event, the user would have the option to click on a filter button, which would bring up this page. And the user can then choose the filters that they want, such as type of event, date, time, and then they can choose how to sort it, whether sort by popularity, sort by date, or sort by name. And then they can also enter a location. And then when they click apply, this would bring them back in the search this would bring them back to the search page. And then they also have the option to clear if they want to. Ideally though, with our completed system, this would just be a pop-up window over the search page instead of a separate page. Alright, and that is all for my part.
Showed all the features and all the front end coding that we did. I wanted to follow it up with the back end code that I worked on, which is the pseudocode for the features. So the stuff like logging in and creating new events and whatnot. So I wanted to break that down in the last section of our presentation. Firstly, account management. We have functions that facilitate user account creation and user authentication. They include the functions create account, which consists of username and password, and login, username and password again. In the event discovery area, we have the search events function, which allows users to discover events using keywords, simplifying event exploration. So that's just the search feature of our UI website and application. And then event management, we designed our application to allow users to create, update, and delete events easily. This is facilitated by the add event function, which consists of event name and then the event details variables, and then update event, which is event name, new event details, and then delete event, event name functions. This is more intended for like the Oakland University staff and the students who will create the events. And then event registration, the application features functions that enable users to register for events and view their registered events, handled by the register for events function with the variables of user ID and event ID, and then get registered events with the variable of user ID. There is a lot more functions in our final report, but obviously these are just a couple of them that I wanted to highlight since we are limited on the time for our presentation. And then this is the QA for the backend code for the features. I know we didn't do an actual implementation, so the QA is going to be different than actual QA testing for our software application, but for the account creation, we tested our account creation functionality with the create account function using just some random user information. And then for the login, we verify that our login functions work as expected by testing login with valid credentials, like username and password. Event search, to confirm that our event search function is functional, we execute search events with a test event keyword. Event management, we test our event management features with add event, update event, and delete event functions using hypothetical event data. So like I said earlier, just examples. And then registered events, to validate our functions for retrieving registered events, we test get registered events with a valid user ID. So I know this is not actual QA testing, but this is just how we would perform the QA test if we were to actually implement this code and create it in a real world scenario. And that is all for our project. Thank you so much for listening. And overall, this was a great learning journey for all of us. We learned a lot of back-end skills, front-end skills, a lot of team management skills, collaborative work, and communication. Like I said, this was a great experience, and thank you.